I think that leads us on nicely to another point as well that's been raised around getting the strategy right, because I think everyone knows that that's the technology is great and the technology can do so many things, but if your strategy is not right, then it's just never going to work. Do you have an idea about what the best strategy is and what you actually need to accomplish this? Do you have to have like a specialist team already in your organization? Do you have to bring people in? How does that sort of look? How does that work?
Strategy is important. I think without having a good strategy, your automation program is likely to fail. It is, I would say, 20% technology and 80% how you enable the business to get the most value out of it. Because these technologies are not particularly hard. They're not, but you can literally become accredited to develop processes within a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah.
And I do liken the technology a little bit to like learning to drive. You can go on a crash course and learn to drive in a week, but you know what? When you go in that car for your first time on a motorway, I'm like, it's a whole nother world, right? You're just like, I am not comfortable in being able to do this. You're doing 30 miles an hour on the inside lane being beeped at. In a business sense, you just caused a massive cock up, and you've got fraud and security wondering why the hell there's all these fraudulent transactions that suddenly have been able to go through the net because you've made a mess up on the process. Like that is, that's the whole bot building, picking up these tools. It is pretty simple. The technology side of this, as in making use of the technology, is such a small part in reality compared to the role of the function, where the function sits. This is an age-old debate about IT versus the business. Do you know what? There are three things I'd say that you absolutely need to consider and get right in order to be successful as part of your strategy. In an ideal world, you need to have top-down agreement and alignment that automation is going to play an important role in your future business strategy. You need that for a few reasons, but the successful organizations, the ones that have been really successful now, have enabled the business to treat automation as a priority. They have amended KPIs around, big director, exec board KPIs around this being important. So top down direction and support, and not necessarily mandated, because nobody wants to mandate, but making sure that automation is a board level priority. Bringing your people on the journey. So it's great to go top down, but actually you also need to go bottom up. And the thing around the people is that the most successful programs do not concentrate solely on FTE reduction. They concentrate on a well-rounded benefit profile. They look at multiple reasons to automate, and it's not just about cost saving. And I think it's only when you really get into automation being a value lever, a business value lever, rather than a stick to save money, that you really get this kind of the right culture within your organization. And that culture is just so important, because the really successful automation programs that that I've run and that I've been part of and that I've helped enable have had one another thing in common. It's this push-pull mentality. So when you first start out, generally you're going out to the business to find opportunity, and you're bringing that back into your center of excellence. And you know what? You can do that for a point in time, and eventually you're probably going to run out of things to automate. And we see this. We've heard of the RPA wall, the RPA ceiling. It's because it's quite one-dimensional. I have hammer, me find nail into the business, and you know what? That goes so far, and you're going to find opportunities. Fantastic. But where those that are really successful is where actually you're not just going out to the business, but you've got the business coming to you.
Yeah.
And not only have you got the business coming to you with RPA opportunities, but actually you've got RPA and intelligent automation strategically embedded in your processes, all the way from when you start. So new product, new service, we've got a new idea. We're thinking about doing X. So all the way at the start of your research and development, you're using automation as a potential lever to help solve the problems that you've got. And that might be, how do we service this new product? It might be, how do I create this new product in my billing system? How do I go to market with this new product? And so not only is automation being used with output, i.e. what things you already have in your business, but actually it's a key driver in how new things are initially built and serviced in your business. And it's those things in conjunction that lead to really valuable automation programs, ones that are sustainable. And this sustainability, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
The number of organizations that stall, they call this the program stalls. And I think the reason is that most people initially will class automation getting going as a project, and then the project ends and the CAB sessions finish and the monthly steering meetings all finish, and then you kind of sit down and your implementation partner leaves, and you're just like,
what do we do now?
Yeah. Well, what do we do now? And I think there's this difference, and this is what your strategy needs to enable. It needs to be less about delivering a project and more about nurturing a capability. And if you create a capability within your organization, one that knows how to push, to pull, that's in the right processes, that has the right people with the right knowledge, that is culturally fit for the business as well, and that is respected, then the world is generally your oyster. It's when it's a thing in a department that no one appreciates that you get this kind of us them mentality, this it's us against the world. And you know what? It's going to shrivel up and die, and we do see that. And I have seen some interesting stats. I read one the other day, which I have seen before, but it kind of came to the fore again. I think there's an EY stat saying that between 30 and 50% of RPA programs fail. I'd be really interested in what that definition of failure actually means.
Yeah.
And is that a misinterpretation of what success should look like? Because do you know what? It's very difficult for this technology to fail. Why? Because it's not actually the most expensive technology to buy. It's not necessarily the most expensive technology or complex technology to implement. And it's replicating things that happen in just about every business. Like, how can that fail? So I think failure has to be taken with a pinch of salt. Now, if the expectation of this technology was that it was going to deliver you millions of benefit in days, not weeks or years, then do you know what? Of course, it's going to be seen in the eyes of those that are paying the bill as a failure.
Yeah.
That is bad expectation setting, and that's what your strategy has really got to be about as well. It's about setting the right expectations with the right people, because until you really understand the role of this, and again, it's not a panacea, and you need to ignore a lot of the marketing that surrounds automation in general. But if there's a dose of realism in this, it's very, very difficult for it to actually fail. And I don't think I've actually seen a real example of where it has not added the value that at least I would expect it to be added. So strategy is so important.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can stress that enough. And as I say, those three levers that you really need to be thinking about: top down, bring everybody on board, and also be be thinking about the role or push pull and how automation fits right at the start of your R&D process.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's it. That's interesting. I just wanted to go back to one point that you mentioned around having the business, come to you and bring opportunities to you for automation. How does a business go about sort of incentivizing that? Because sometimes there is obviously a bit of resistance when these sort of technologies are brought into these organizations. People are scared that robots are going to take their jobs, or they don't necessarily know that that RPA or intelligent automation is being done in the organization. So how does a business go about having that come to them? Is it what do they have to do to kind of make that happen?
Yeah. I think it all comes down to good communications in this instance. And again, there's probably not a right answer for every business. Every business is going to be different. I mean, some of the examples I've seen, prizes for the best ideas. Actually, people getting rewarded by that automation being built. It doesn't even have to be a monetary prize. The fact that it was their idea that was automated, and maybe they got to name the robot. Often the types of roles and jobs and tasks that have been automated, they're not necessarily being completed by execs. So the fact that you are being recognized across an organization as having that idea that the automation team took upon, out of tens, hundreds, thousands maybe, is a real accolade for a lot of people. So I think that's certainly one way of being able to get the business on board. I think the other one, and one of my clients, Alta Domus, Danilo's who leads that program, done a really good job of making it easy for people to submit their ideas, so that they can, it's not a challenge. Really simple. Here's a portal. There's some training around this. You've made it really accessible. And if I compare that to one of my other clients in the Nordics, to submit an idea, you had to go to ServiceNow. It was really hidden. So unless you knew it was there, I am telling you now, as I saw it for the first time, I asked the question, I was like, how, if you didn't know that was there, how would you find it? Oh, you probably wouldn't. Okay, well that's and
Yeah.
this was the light bulb moment. It's probably not a surprise that you've only had one idea submitted in 6 months. Ta-da!
Yeah.
So make it easy. So make it fun, make it easy, and obviously from a cultural perspective, make sure that this is seen as a friend, not a foe.
Yeah.
That's more change management. But once you've kind of got that comms right, that this isn't this is trying to take the boring stuff away from you. And again, I've heard this a lot, but in reality, it's quite true. A lot of the tasks that this is removing are the pretty mundane, boring stuff. And you know what? If you come in on a Monday morning, you're massively hungover from the weekend, it's probably the exact things that you want to be doing, because you don't have to think.
Yeah.
When you get to a Wednesday afternoon, you're halfway through the week, and you're just doing these mundane things, the last thing you really want to be doing is that.
Yeah.
It's not making your day go very quickly, and it's not making your weekend come any earlier. So
Yeah.
I think that's probably the key, the communications around this is removing the stuff you don't want to do in the first place.
Great. Yeah, no, I think we've seen and heard stories about that as well, and it's I suppose trying to get over that initial hurdle, and then once once the communication is clear, it's then all of a sudden just accepted by everyone. So it's good to see. I think one of the last things that would be good to touch on that we hear quite a lot. Obviously, we work with quite a lot of organisations who are looking to get started, trying to hire the skills to help them get started sometimes and build up these teams. It's what doing these intelligent automation and RPA programs, what can hold you back, and what pitfalls do you need to avoid? Is there anything that for someone who might be starting out or might be looking for that next step after RPA into intelligent automation, what things do they need to kind of look out for and kind of avoid?
I think we've none of this is new, right? So there's so much knowledge out there, whether it be online content, whether it be expertise, webinars, you name it. There's a lot of information out there now. Certainly none of this was available when I first kicked off. And you know what? I think I could have done 2, 3, 4 times a better job, even though I was really successful, just because there's so many of the questions I had now the answers are just readily known and available. But I don't think, as much as the technology can be quite simple, this is still pretty difficult, right?
Yeah.
Up to 70% of change programs fail. Guess what? Automation is a change program. And so you still need a level of expertise. And so, don't struggle alone. And there's 2 ways to do that, right? Bring it in from a headcount perspective. One of the things I'd say about you guys, Harrison, is you've got a great network. You know a lot of people who are in and around this space. You know a lot of expertise. Okay, so that's one way. Bring the expertise in permanently. And then the other one, obviously, is using people like me, ISG, and God knows how many other experts in assisting you upon this journey. I mean, all of that is really important. I mean, that's one way. None of the stuff that you are going to be doing is going to be done for the first time. It's all going to have been done numerous times. So don't struggle alone. Like, literally use somebody who has done it. And you know what? It might cost something, but if it makes your journey go 2, 3, 4 times quicker, do you know what? That's money well spent. So I think that's probably one way. With regards to pitfalls, I think the biggest pitfall, even now, is this relationship between the business and IT. And it doesn't matter who is leading, whether it be the business, whether it be IT. There are challenges with both. Okay, there are challenges with both. If it's an IT-led program, I often see the business disengaged. Okay, when it's a business-led program, I often see IT holding their hands up to say, like, what is this? What are you doing? What, why do you think that this is appropriate? And putting up barriers. You've got to get that right. You've got to get the relationship between IT and the business working hand in glove in order for this to be successful. And also, as much as a lot of these technologies are should be very simple to implement. I've got an ongoing client at the moment, and I'm not kidding. It's taken them 6 months in order to get their internal setup to a position where we are able to make use of where we are able to make use of the RPA technology, because internally, they've really struggled to get this set up. So that is often another hurdle that is pretty difficult for organizations to overcome. And then the last one, probably, and again it comes back to the communications point, is culture, right? If you get people's backs up early, the people whose backs you're getting up are probably the people who have the knowledge that you need to extract in order to be successful. Well, guess what? They don't want to give you the right knowledge. They ain't giving you that right knowledge. It's very easy for people to forget, to not be helpful. And that, to be honest, is one of the things you can't necessarily legislate for. And it's going to make your journey 2, 3, 4, 5 times harder if you don't have people on board. So that would certainly be a couple of the things that I think you really need to look out for. And again, that's not new news for most people, but I don't think I can stress enough that these really are real life challenges that organizations still have now, and they're the things that people really need to be thinking about.
No, that's great. I think we have a lot of people ask those questions regularly, with the businesses that we work with. And for us, working in the industry that we work in, it's not new, but for some organizations, it's their first time doing this. So you know, they're kind of entering into that unknown, or if they've done RPA, they're looking at what's next. So I think it's, you know, it's good for them to know. So yeah, I think, you know, leaving it with that, obviously, you know, it's been great speaking to you. Thanks for taking the time out of your evening to, you know, once the kids are in bed, to you know, to speak to me and you know, share your knowledge on this topic. I think a lot of people find it really interesting. To anyone who's, you know, if you find any of these topics interesting, or you want to find out some more information, we'll have our contact details at the end of this video. So feel free to reach out, whether it be to, you know, to Wayne or myself, and we'd be happy to answer any questions or elaborate on any of the topics, and, you know, answer any questions you might have. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and yeah, Wayne, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me. And that's it. Yes, Harrison.
Cheers.